Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries, here it is, another day at Synergy Cafe with me and Magic Brad. I'm a Gemini. There's two of me. I'm schizo. So today, I've got somebody on the other side of the pond, and he is a mentalist, magician, hypnotist, mind reader, and I butchered his name. So I had to do some creative editing to get that all set up. So I'm going to go get him. He's in the green room, partaking in some of our digital hors d'oeuvres. His name is Jonathan, and the last name is Royle. You there? Greetings.
Hey, how you doing, Brad? Good to see you.
I am well. I detect an accent.
It's a very mixed up one, actually. Anyone who is in England will know that this isn't, although it is a semi-northern accent. I spent a good number of years of my life growing up on the circus, moving from one town to another, and going to different schools and whatnot, as you do when you're born on the circus. So I've got a really weird accent. Yeah.
Well, over here, we can't tell the difference between an English accent, an Australian accent, an Irish accent, or a
Oh, I
Scottish
know.
accent.
I was on a cruising a number of years ago from Florida through Key West, the Bahamas, and I was on there as part of this hypnotist convention teaching people stage hypnosis. And the number of people who were asking me what it was like in Australia, and I'm like, I don't know. I've never been. I'm not Australian.
That's the way it is. I'm from a place up bordering Canada. It's Minnesota,
Okay.
and a lot of people think that we have an accent, and they relate it to the movie Fargo. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Fargo,
I did, yeah.
but
Yeah.
Fargo's in the Dakotas. It's not in Minnesota, but they did it, and they had that Minnesota accent for cripe's sakes, and
Well, there
who
you go.
knows?
That's
It's
the
just
theatrical license for you, eh?
now that's something that you guys as hypnotists can actually do is get people to take on an accent through the power of suggestion. I've seen people do that kind of stuff.
Well, you can if the person was at some innate level capable of doing that accent in the first place. They might
Yeah,
not have been consciously aware of it, but the fact is
yeah.
with hypnosis, whether it's for stage hypnosis purposes, which blatant plug, Hypno-TRICKS, hypnosis stunts for magicians and mentalists by Jonathan Royle, just tap it into Amazon, you'll find it. Whether it's for stage hypnosis purposes or hypnotherapy, in which case SHITNOSIS, helping you get over the shit in your life and get your shit together.
All right.
The fact is, there's nothing you can do with hypnosis that isn't possible to do without hypnosis. In other words, therapeutically, an individual could always, if they really chose to and had the personal resilience to, they could overcome a habit, addiction, fear, or phobia on their own. It's just going and seeing a therapist makes it easier. And as a stage hypnotist, the truth is, there's people that go to discotheques and nightclubs, and after they've had a couple of drinks and their inhibitions go down, they get on the dance floor and do the most ridiculous things, especially if the disc jockey or DJ, in some adult nightclubs, they'll suddenly go, the first lady who brings me a warm pair of knickers to the DJ stand wins a bottle of champagne. And you suddenly see all the women on the dance floor holding on to somebody and trying to take the knickers off without anyone spotting what's going on. They're not hypnotized, or are they? Because at the end of the day, all hypnosis is the use of the power of suggestion. It's not some magical, there's no special trance state, zombie state. It's the use of suggestion and persuasion on stage to make people do things they perhaps wouldn't normally do in a context where they've got the perfect excuse at the end where they can go back to the audience and go, the hypnotist made me do it.
Right.
So they've got to get out a jail free card. They can go back and go, and that's why you get two kinds of people at a hypnosis show. Afterwards, one of two types of people. They'll either, well, one of three actually. Some people will go back to the audience and go, ha, 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 I pulled the wool over the hypnotist's eyes. He doesn't realize it, but I was faking it. And you know what? If they're a really good actor, there is no way the stage hypnotist would know. And to be honest, frankly, certainly from my own point of view, I couldn't care less. Right. I'm there to entertain the audience. The second type of people are the ones who go back to the audience and they go, oh, I can't remember what I did. What did I do? And what this is, I would argue, is actually just them. They know what they did, really. But this is a great way of getting even more attention from the friends and family who'll go, oh, you were so funny. He made you do this. He made you do that. So they're laughing with them, not at them, because they apparently don't remember. And the third category is the person who'll say, I can remember what I did, but I just couldn't stop myself from doing it. So again, they're not to blame for doing the silly things. It's all the hypnotist's fault, but they continue to be the center of attention and get their 15 minutes of fame. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, obviously. And we cover such things, including physiological tricks and physical tricks that are guaranteed to work, that then can be used to psychologically convince people. So, for example, there's ways in this book, Hypno-TRICKS, Hypnosis Stunts for Magicians and Mentalists by Jonathan Royle, that's on Amazon, that will teach you how to make somebody think that their hands have locked, glued, welded, cemented, bolted together. Many different ways of doing it, but one of them is if you get them to push them away from themselves like that, as long as they're pushing them away from themselves in that position, okay, as far as they can, then it becomes basically almost physically impossible to separate the hands because of the physical position they're in.
Right.
But because of the pattern you use tied in with it, they come to believe that you as the hypnotist are saying things. They imagine them, hence all the nonsense about the locking, gluing, welding, cementing, bolting together. And then when you tell them to try to separate your hands, the word try itself implies there's a possibility of failure. Yeah. When they find that their hands won't come apart, in that moment, they get confused and disorientated and they think, wow, he suggested stuff to me, or she did, because there's lady hypnotists as well. I imagined it and it's become reality. And the moment they believe that you can say things to them, that they then imagine them and they become reality, then arguably they are hypnotized, and that's what hypnosis is. As I say, Hypno-TRICKS, Hypnosis Stunts for Magicians and Mentalists, teaches you all that and way more besides. So, yeah, that's kind of the quickest way I can explain what.
Yeah, my wife, she's sort of scared of it. So if I tell her, like, take that pencil and move it over to the left, she doesn't want to do that because she feels that I'm setting her up for something else.
Well, I mean, we do cover how to get trusted people, but one of the things it does say in here, in fairness, is don't try these things on your husband, your wife, your sister, close family members, because they knew you before you were a hypnotist or before you started adding some suggestion work to your magic and mentalism, because you can combine these techniques into your magic and mentalism. You know, you get a coin signed by somebody, maybe using David Penn's coin vexed or one of the many other coin bending gimmicks out there on the market. And instead of just kind of then taking it and have it melt in your hand, once you've magically used whichever method to get it bent, you can get it in their hand and their hand closed around it, and, you know, say to them in a few moments' time, notice as you take a nice deep breath in through your nose and then out through your mouth, and continue breathing deeply and regularly in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you do, I'd like you to just imagine that it's almost as if you can imagine the color red, which is a mixture of orange and yellow, the two most powerful colors. Sorry, orange rather, getting it the wrong way around. Imagine orange like the sun. It's a mixture of red and yellow. And imagine that color going down from your mind and your imagination, down your shoulder to your elbow, from your elbows to your wrist and into your hands. And as you do, it's almost as if that coin starts to feel as though it's getting warmer and hotter. Or perhaps it starts to tingle and vibrate slightly in your hand. It's different for everyone. But when you start to feel whatever strange sensation it is that you start to feel, in a way that feels right for you, just tell us. Now, people can rewind that to get a better idea of it, but I'm not telling them it's categorically going to get hot or it's categorically going to start tingling and vibrating. I'm saying that it might get hot or it might start to tingle, vibrate. It's a different sensation for everyone, but in a way that feels right for you. And that phrase, in a way that feels right for you, leaves them in a position where they can interpret anything they feel as being correct as the outcome. And then at the end, I say, when you feel that strange sensation in a way that feels right for you, just let us know. And I go silent. And people don't like silence. So, you know, 99% of the time recurring, they will end up in a short distance of time, ended up saying they feel something. Now, what they feel may only be the fact that I placed the coin on their hand, so the coin kind of ends up here. So as I've closed their hand around it, so they don't see it's already bent. It's kind of then, as their hand is around it, it's pushing it into their palm, and they may become aware of that little pulsating feeling in their hand that's actually just the blood running through the hand. But it doesn't matter.
Sure, they're just making it up in their head.
Exactly. It's all we're doing really is playing with our imaginations. It's in a very safe manner. That's not to say that there are not dangers to hypnosis. There are. Most of the dangers, Laura, to do with what you see on YouTube, where people are doing things on the street, and they've got people stood on the sidewalk or pavement so close to the traffic that if that person was to come to believe they were genuinely hypnotized and the hypnotist said sleep, they might react because of their perception of what hypnosis is by dropping to the floor like a sack of spuds. It does happen.
Yeah.
Well, if they're stood on the edge of the sidewalk, they could fall into the road and have a serious accident. Health and safety does need paying attention to, but so it does with a normal magic act as well, you know.
I've always found it fascinating, the neuro-linguistic programming, or the power of the words, like, or even just motions, body language. When I vanish a coin, I'll throw it in the air and then see it disappear when it's in the air. And if they go replay that to someone else, yes, it vanished. You threw it in the air and it vanished.
And I actually saw it happen midair. And yeah, it's part of that your internal script of believing it. I believe, you know, some people call it internal script. And the other is, yeah, if you were vanishing that coin or apparently throwing it in the air, if you just did that, well, they're not very likely to follow. But you do it and you truly believe it, or at least appear to believe it. Hence,
we're just actors, aren't we?
Yeah, David Evant, off the top of my head, said magicians are merely actors playing the part of magicians. And I say much the same about hypnotists when I'm teaching stage hypnosis. And it's going to sound really arrogant and it sounds like a really outrageous claim, this, but I have taught more people who are now truly successful comedy stage hypnotists in the world, or who are magicians and mentalists of note who use a bit of hypnosis within their magic and mentalism, than any other living hypnosis trainer. And anyone who doesn't believe that, please book me to the test by going to magicalguru.co.uk, not the .com one, but magicalguru.co.uk, where my career resume is, and there's a link there, and you can see the people who've got their own television shows around the world, people who are headlining on 5-star cruise ships, people who are filling massive theatre venues and arenas around the world, who I either originally taught or continue to mentor to this day. So when I tell you that hypnosis is effectively incredibly simple, and you're saying about body language and stuff, that's even more important in hypnotherapy, which is something that I teach in this book, HYPNOSIS.
You have to actually believe it yourself. You know the name Al Schneider?
Yes, of course. Yeah, great.
He's a Minneapolis guy. I studied under Al Schneider. I know him well. And his thing was about repetition, and you just believe it yourself. So we sat for hours with a coin going, a coin, a coin, a coin, and then feel its edges, feel its weight, feel its surface. And then
you almost get a muscle memory that you can feel and react that way even without a coin.
Right. You take the coin out and then you do the same thing, and you have to believe it. And if you believe it, then you're very convincing when someone else is listening to you that the coin has disappeared because you believe it.
And that is so vital, not just in magic and mentalism, but in hypnosis as well, whether it's stage or therapeutic.
You have to be confident.
It's called the Pygmalion effect, or it's also known as the Rosenthal effect. This is a scientific principle that if you, as I'm going to say hypnotist, but could just as equally be a magician or mentalist, you can substitute the same word, truly believe what you're doing and expect it to work, that sincerity and that depth of belief is transmitted through your non-verbal communication, but also through your tone of voice. And some may even argue energetically, it's just picked up on at some unseen level and is transmitted to the volunteers or the audience, or in hypnosis, the hypnotic subject. And in hypnosis, if the hypnotic subject picks up on that and comes to believe the process that's being gone through, and this can apply to magic and mentalism, and especially bizarre magic and ritual stuff, believes and gets their mind, their imagination captured around that, believes there's some worth to it, then the scientific principle of the Galatea principle kicks in, Galatea effect, which is the more that the individual, the audience member, the participant believes that it will work, the more likely it is to work. Sure. And all these things blend together with a mass dollop of, and yeah, I'm applying this to magic and mentalism as well, a mass dollop of the placebo effect, which when you study it, and we cover the placebo in Shitnosis, so although I said this is a therapy book, I'd recommend magicians, mentalists especially, to check this out and give it a read, because it goes into the psychological things that truly motivate human beings. And as Eugene Berger and people like Jeff McBride in their mystery school teachings teach so well, when you understand that a human being wants to, the words I use is that a human being needs to feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished, and valued. If you can positively, with positive intent, that's the key, because all of these things can be used by people with nefarious intent, but I'm saying specifically with positive intent. If you can, and I'm not talking about doing gospel magic and putting God's message through, nothing like that. And I'm not talking about trying to preach to them in a motivational speaker manner either, although there's a marketplace for that as well. Of course there is. I just mean if you can make them feel there's something more, some true magic to it, as, you know, Eugene and Max Maven and greats like that would allude to, rather than it just being, here's a coin, it's vanished. Ooh, aren't I clever? Because too much magic is, look at me, I'm clever, I fooled you. Whereas it's got such potential to be a true, I hate to use the word magical, but you know what I mean? A true magical experience. Hence, one of Eugene's great books is The Experience of Magic.
Yeah, like Tony Robbins talks about changing your physiology. If you're like feeling down, then get up and jump around and pound on yourself and get yourself up. It changes your physiology. It's going to change your mood. So I'm a believer in that. Like on my banner here, I got the conceive, believe, achieve thing going on.
Spot on.
That's definitely what it is, and it's not any juju or anything like that. But you need to feel confident, otherwise you're not going to take the step. You know.
It's just, it can sound to some people sometimes like it's magic juju, and it isn't. It's just pure psychology. Because the more you, it's also like the key principle, and anyone who suffers from any kind of level of imposter syndrome. Now, performers sometimes refer to that as being stage fright, but you know, in the wider world, it's called imposter syndrome. That little voice in your head saying, I'm not good enough, or well, you know, or putting you down. Then honestly, for the sake of 17 United States dollars, I promise you that this book, Shitnosis, helping you get over the shit in your life and get your shit together by way of the these things that are all the way through it, QR codes that take you to interactive videos online. I will help you to reprogram your personal laptop computer so you feel
I will look those books up on Amazon and put the Amazon links in the YouTube.
Oh, cool. Thank you. You can condition your mind through mental rehearsal to feel calm, relaxed, and confident in front of a massive audience, even if you've never stepped foot in front of one before, so that when you do get the opportunity to step foot in front of a massive audience, although consciously you know it's your first time, your unconscious, subconscious mind, which is what's really running the show, thinks you've done this numerous times before. This is what sports people do when they do sports psychology and mentally rehearse running a race again and again. They're not actually physically running, although they do that as part of their exercise for getting ready for big races. But just as importantly, and results and studies have shown arguably more so, is them imagining being at peak performance and doing it best again and again and again, because the imagination doesn't know the difference between something that's imagined or reality.
See that in like boxing from outside the ring, you can see the confidence in a boxer when all of a sudden his mindset changes. You can just see the confidence come out.
And that, you know, most of the great performers in history, if you get the opportunity to look, and I always recommend that people do stuff like, yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm blatantly plugging books now and again. Hypno-TRICKS to learn
That's what we're here
Hypno-TRICKS
for.
type stuff. SHITNOSIS to get over your imposter syndrome. And if you're into mentalism or you want to add some mental magic, whether it's for close-up stage or cabaret, check out Mind Miracles, Real World Mentalism and Mind Reading Secrets by Jonathan Royle. It's a 400 odd page book. It retails at less than £50 United Kingdom sterling. But not only does this have my complete 2-hour theatre showing, okay, telling you how to make all the props for next to nothing and do it, but it's also got my entire close-up repertoire, parlour repertoire. There's a complete career in here, mentalism-wise. And this has got rave reviews in the front, the material from people like Peter the Perceptionist Turner of Illusionist How to Read Mind fame.
Let me ask you, does it also have stuff in there like the things you need to operate your new business with, like contracts or markets to tap and all stuff like that?
This doesn't have contracts in, but it does have videos that contain marketing advice and how to get television, radio, newspaper, and magazine publicity.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Which is something that, you know, certainly in England, I've done on a big scale with my bizarre angle of psychic belly button reading. That's one of the gimmicks that I use that has got me on TV shows. But yeah, I went off on one there slightly. I recommend, what I was going to say is I recommend people look at people's autobiographies, not just books of tricks, but books on how to perform as well, how to structure your routines, how to act. We alluded to it earlier, acting as well, acting skills can take the simplest of trick, but with the right presentation and some good acting skills, suddenly it can. There is no one trick. You're not going to go and buy a trick and it's going to become the thing that makes you suddenly famous. But you can go and buy a trick and add a presentation to it that fits you, that's congruent to you, that comes across as being natural and believable, and also captivating for the people that are involved and watch, that can end up becoming your trademark piece. Which, you know, if we think of Paul Daniels, you think chop cup electric chairs.
Right.
You think of Jeff McBride, you think the masks and the Miser's Dream and the water bowls. Yes, you can go and learn those things. Yes, even, you know, you can go and learn off Jeff those routines. All well and good, and he'll license them to you. But the fact is, you still need to tweak it somehow, because there is only one Jeff McBride. There's only one, you know.
You know Steve Hart?
I've heard the name. I don't know him.
He's
personally.
a friend of mine, and we do a podcast every Monday morning at 9:00. And him and I both tried to be the sophisticated, suave, debonair performer, and realized that our personality wasn't that. So we went into the comedy role of it. So I see what you're saying. If someone's trying to do the theatrical McBride, and they should be doing more something zany.
You've got to find what fits. And in here, yeah, this is kind of it says Egg Sausage Peas, ESP, the Mentalist Cookbook. That was the name of the show that's explained in here. And one of the opening gags was, I called it Egg Sausage Peas because the ESP could have stood for eel, squid and prawn, but I thought it sounded a bit too much like a cruise ship act. Now, that works for me when I'm dressed the way I do on stage. It's a really crap joke, yes, but it works because it's meant to be crap. But the routines in here, some of my presentations are quite cheesy. However, the underlying mentalism routines are mind blowers that you can present as a seriously psychic performer if you wanted to. It's all about you feeling comfortable as a performer. And one of the best examples of that, bloody hell, we've got to mention this in the fact that it's 2023, and this year, later this year, will be the 50th anniversary of the world's most famous ever psychic entertainer, Mystifier Uri Geller, hitting the. I mean, I met Uri when I was about 16 the first time, and then I met him again when I was about 18, ironically, when I was 17, he did the voiceover on a British television show about stage hypnotist, and I was featured on that TV show as the youngest stage hypnotist in the world at the time, back in 1993. We're going back because I'm 47 now. I was 17 at the time, and at the time I was getting known as the British bad boy of hypnosis because I did this outrageous, totally politically incorrect. I wouldn't dream of doing half the routines I did back then anymore. We live in a completely different world, but it worked for me at the time, and there was a marketplace at the time. And Uri, when I did meet with him in person, he said to me that I was his favourite hypnotist that he'd seen in that show, because I clearly understood the value of being controversial. And anyone who's seen Uri's box set that he's got out through magic companies, he goes into about how being controversial and different and standing out from the crowd is one of the keys to success. And believe me, it truly is.
Yeah, they say if they like you, they like you. If they hate you, they follow you anyways.
Exactly. And hated is rated. The fact is, what's the old saying? You can please some of the people all of the time. All of the people some of the time, but you're never going to please all of the people all of the time. So why bloody waste time trying? And also, it becomes dead expensive from a marketing perspective. Once you identify your ideal audience, who you can feel comfortable performing in front of, being not necessarily 100% yourself, but a slightly amplified version of yourself, okay? So if you feel calm, relaxed, comfortable, and confident with that stage persona, and so that it's not a massive shock to the system when you leave the stage, it's just a slight turn the dial a little bit down, then you can work out, right, where do these people go to see entertainment? And when you work that out, you can work out where to market your show to. Right. So every dollar, every euro, every pound you're spending on advertising is targeted truly to people who are potentially ideal bookers and audience members for your show, rather than a shotgun approach where you end up wasting money.
Totally get it. Tell me, is this how they get a hold of you?
That is my general website, more I would say for the general public. If they take that but replace the .com bit with .co.uk, so .co.uk, they'll get my career resume, and on there is the links to what I said before about checking out all the people I've actually taught, and the fact that, you know, for example, Darren Brown, sure people have heard of Darren. Well, the production company that made a lot of his shows, namely Objective Productions in England, over the years have bought tons of my training videos, and they've used lots of the hypnotic tricks. And in fact, many of the things taught in here, HYPNO-TRICKS, anyone who buys this, HYPNO-TRICKS, Hypnosis Stunts for Magicians and Mentalists by Jonathan Royle from Amazon, will discover in here. I make mention and point out there's an ice stunt in here with a bucket of ice that on a bigger scale with a bath of ice you'll have seen on Darren Brown's Assassin. There's a ton of hypno-tricks that are guaranteed to work. They look like genuine hypnosis, but they're not. The physiological tricks that were used on a weekly basis on a Channel 4 British television show called Rajan and the Evil Hypnotist, which was also made by the same production company that makes Darren's stuff. If you want to learn how the top guys do it for less than 30 quid, it's in that book. And mentalism-wise, there's a ton of my stuff in here. My Russian roulette presentation with a spike. One spike goes in a base, and there's 5 of them that have no bases. All 6 of them get stuck in bags or under covers and mixed up. You all know the premise and the plot. Well, mine has been dubbed routine as the most baffling anyone's ever seen. Now, by people like Peter the Perceptionist Turner, British mentalism legend Eddie Burke, and a whole bunch of other names in the business who are mentioned in the front of this. Mind Miracles, Real World Mentalism and Mind Reading Secrets. I was the first person to, before doing the actual which one shall I smash my hand down on, and may I say my versions are 150% safe. It is impossible to cause yourself physical injury by way of spiking your hand. And people only have to go on my Celebrity Hypnotist YouTube channel and type in Russian roulette, and they can watch performances, and they'll watch them. They'll go, "How the hell was that done?" But the key thing is I gave it a structure and a performance where I incited fear, genuine fear, into the audience through playing the theme tune from Halloween, which is very emotionally disturbing. And that music was playing in the background whilst I show them video footage from numerous people around the world actually impaling their own hands and other people's hands. Now, a number of people around the world have, since I did that years ago, and this includes Darren Brown, who on his Miracle theatre tour and television broadcast ended up presenting it with a video of some people hurting themselves in advance and anchoring people to the music and whatnot. I did it first, and it was in my Egg, Sausage and Peas Mentalism DVD set, to which access to the videos are supplied via QR code inside this book. So it's not just a book on mentalism. You actually get access to 20 hours of training videos.
Cool.
So it's like a complete novice can learn everything they ever need to know. It's like the 13 steps to mentalism, how to use nail writers, how to use billet switching and one head principle, and everything you could need to know in this one book. But I anchored them with the music to the video, so they see the visual. People have hurt themselves and got hurt, connected to the Halloween theme tune, horror movie, and then the music stops. Sure. And the sign changes to "Do not try this at home." The metal things examined, as people can see on the video. A balloon is popped. A lot of people are scared of rubber balloons, which is interesting. But we blow it up, and then I get an audience member to pop the balloon, and that big bang as well puts people on edge as well. And I use every psychological trick in the book, including verbal suggestions, the type of which are in SHITNOSIS, to have that audience on the edge of their seats. So that then, when the bags are mixed up, and the audience members choose for me which ones I'm going to smash my hand down on, but it's under the pretext that I've influenced them into what they're going to say and that I've been following body language and this, that, the other. People can see that part in the video. That's not that important. What is important is the very moment the first number is chosen for me, the Halloween theme music starts again. The lights on the stage dim down again and it goes to pin spot. And it's very dark in here, and they've already got this conditioned response to when that music was playing, they were seeing people hurting themselves.
Sure.
So as I'm doing it till we get to the end and rip open that last bag, and as the last bag is ripped open to show it's the spike and I'm safe, that's when the Halloween music, as I rip it, sound man stops that music, so that association of fear's gone, and upbeat starts. And that in itself causes the applause to be even more heightened than it would have been, because they're given this huge sense of relief and wow, a true, genuine feeling of wow. They actually end up caring for the performer. It's not just a trick. It becomes something that they're emotionally invested in.
Yeah, there's a lot of the theater and psychological principles, and looks like you put a lot of thought into your presentations.
That's what a large part of the videos that are inside the Mind Miracles book are about. It's not just here's a chair test without any chairs. I thought, what can I do with the chair test so it's different? Well, what if I got to a venue that's a theatre with fixed seating and they've no spare chairs? I can't do the chair test.
Right.
I know I'll have to take fold-up chairs with me. No, I don't want to do that. What shall I do? So I got A4 size, which is like standard letter size, cards printed up with stars on, like the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And these are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they go on the floor. And instead of chairs, it's the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and the volunteers all mix about on stage while they play on music from American Idol or X Factor in England is playing, the judges walk onto. Okay. So it's got a celebrity connotation, psychological link there. And they play like musical chairs, but with the Hollywood Walk of Fame stars. And when the music stops, they stop. And then they're asked if they want to change their mind again. And ultimately, it's shown that I predicted which Hollywood Walk of Fame star they'll end up stood on. But also at the beginning, I forgot to mention, each of them has chosen a celebrity face mask to put on. So there's like 5 volunteers on stage, but I've got about, a dozen different celebrity face masks. And they pick one, apparently a completely free choice. And I say apparently because they have a limited free choice, but we don't need to get into methodology here. And they end up with a celebrity face mask on. And because on the back of the face mask, I've written on it, please act like the celebrity you've just chosen. Use their famous expressions or wording. So to the audience, they're seeing the front of the face mask being shown. Right. But on the back is this wording that the person on stage can read. So my Elvis person ends up when I go up to them and say, so how are you doing today, Mr. Presley? Because of what they've read on the back of here, they invariably end up going, oh, and doing the leg wiggle of Elvis. Right. The person who perhaps picked the late Queen, I'll have to change that, take that face mask out because she's now passed away. But I had one that was the Queen. If I went up to the Queen mask and went, how are you doing today, my Majesty, your Majesty? That person invariably went, yeah, one is not amused, or some such similar thing. And this seemed like great spontaneous comedy, but they've been cued by what was written on the back here. And now people go, that's instant stooging. Well, it is, but it had nothing to do with the mythology of how I then show that I predicted which celebrity they would choose to be and where they end up stood on the Walk of Fame things that pack flat.
Techniques to make it more entertaining. We get that.
Yeah, to make it, and that's things that people, I think there's a lot of people out there benefit from thinking about a little bit more.
Well, we've gone for over half an hour here.
It's really just gone like that, hasn't it?
It does. It just, time flies when you're having fun. So show us your books once again so we get a good chance to
so in order to overcome imposter syndrome, stage fright, or to learn how to positively emotionally manipulate people, it's Shitnosis, helping you get over the shit in your life and get your shit together, by Jonathan Royle. To learn, guaranteed to work every time, physiological and psychological tricks that look like hypnosis, and also how to segue into genuine hypnosis. It's Hypno-TRICKS, hypnosis stunts for magicians and mentalists. And for a complete course in mentalism, mind, magic, and associated areas, it's Mind Miracles, Real World Mentalism, and Mind Reading Secrets.
Well, perfect. That's a lot of stuff there. You gave us a lot of information, and you gave away your whole show. So we got to keep a little bit so they can go buy the books.
Oh, there's plenty more in there, I promise you. I promise you.
Well, Jonathan, I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. And anyone who's going to be there, because it's the 24th of January we're doing this. If you're going to be at Blackpool Magic Convention in February, which starts on Thursday, the 16th of February, is the day before people meet up in Blackpool. But the actual convention is Friday the 17th, Saturday the 18th, and Sunday the 19th of February. Just search Blackpool Magic Convention 2023 on Google. You'll find to get tickets. Well, if you're going to be there in Blackpool on the Thursday, the 16th of February, I'm running a live 4-hour hands-on workshop teaching how to combine magic and mentalism with hypnotic techniques to make it more powerful and impactful, and how to do complete hypnosis show. And full details of that are at hypnosisblackpool.com.
Okay, well, I appreciate you taking the time. And
thank you for having me on, Brad. It is much appreciated, sir.
I'm going to pop you into the digital green room. You can have some of those digital hors d'oeuvres.
Hey, thank you very much indeed, my friend.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, there you got it. We went almost 40 minutes here. A lot of information there. I like that big giant book he's got. His whole show's in there if anybody's interested in doing this as a profession. Kind of reminds me of, God, I just had a mind. Joel Bauer's Hustle Hustle. He had a book on how to make magic your business. So that's it right there. This is how you get a hold of all that stuff. themagicalguru.co.uk. That's the story, Morning Glory. So I'm going to sign this off. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be good, be kind, be nice. Did I say be nice? Be nice. See ya.